Hi, I am the world's highest IQ record holder, YoungHoon Kim. I can prove that God exists mathematically. Hi, I am the world's highest IQ record holder, YoungHoon Kim. I proclaim Jesus will return in 10 years. Hello everyone, I am the world's highest IQ record holder, YoungHoon Kim. Today, I published my first book. It is called Simulation Christian Theology. It is now available on Amazon Kindle. I am the world's highest IQ record holder, YoungHoon Kim. Today, I pray for the eternal rest of my friend Charlie Kirk. My name is YoungHoon Kim, the world's highest IQ record holder. As the world's highest IQ record holder, I am the world's highest IQ record holder, YoungHoon Kim. Why evil exists?
276. That's the number. That's where this whole thing starts. If you've been anywhere near Christian social media, crypto Twitter, or German political news in the last year, you've probably seen this man's face. YoungHoon Kim, South Korean, mid-30s, claims to hold the highest IQ ever recorded in human history. And for a while, the internet believed him. His posts went absurdly viral. Christian outlets celebrated him. Crypto news sites quoted his price predictions. A German political leader publicly endorsed him. And then, she deleted it. The party's explanation, reported by ZDFheute, Germany's equivalent of the BBC, was that they had, quote, doubts about the authenticity of his account. So I started pulling threads. And what I found is the story about how you build a machine made of official-looking websites, self-referencing certifications, political stunts, religious messaging, and eventually crypto tokens that manufacture credibility out of thin air. Let's start with the number itself, because if you're not familiar with how IQ testing works, 276 might sound impressive but meaningless, like a high score in a video game you've never played. So let me give you the context that makes this claim extraordinary. IQ tests are designed around a bell curve. The average is 100. A standard deviation, the statistical unit that measures how far you are from average, is typically 15 points. So an IQ of 130 puts you roughly in the top 2%. An IQ of 145, the top fraction of a percent. Einstein's IQ has been estimated at around 160, though he never took a modern standardized test. The Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, the WAIS, is the most widely used, most rigorously validated IQ test on the planet. Its ceiling's at about 160. Not because no one could theoretically score higher, but because there simply aren't enough people at that level to build reliable statistical norms. You'd need a peer group that doesn't exist. Now, Kim's camp says his 276 score uses a different scale, a standard deviation of 24. They claim this is equivalent to about 210 on the standard scale. But even 210 on the standard scale represents a rarity that exceeds the total number of human beings who have ever existed on Earth. It's not just that it's rare, it's like mathematically incoherent. There is no population against which to norm this score. It's like claiming you ran a mile in -4 seconds. And this is exactly why Guinness World Records retired the highest IQ category entirely in 1990. Their stated reason? IQ tests were, quote, too unreliable to designate a single record holder. That was 35 years ago. The world's most famous record-keeping organization looked at this problem and said, we can't do it responsibly. So if Guinness won't touch it, who gave YoungHoon Kim his record? This is where the story gets architectural. Because Kim doesn't just claim to have the world's highest IQ, he presents a paper trail. Official-looking pages, organizations with formal-sounding names, council titles, certificates. It looks, at first glance, like independent verification from multiple credible institutions. But when you actually trace the connections, they all lead back to the same place. Let's walk through them one by one. Node 1. Official World Record. This is the page that formally declares Kim holds the world record for the world's highest IQ person now, with a score of 276. It's dated September 2024. Now, the name Official World Record is designed to sound like Guinness, but it's not Guinness. It's a separate organization registered as an NGO in Spain. Its critics, and there are many, particularly in competitive record-setting communities, describe it as a pay-to-play registry. You pay an administrative fee, you submit your claim, and you receive certification. Note 2. The World Mind Sports Council. This is cited as one of multiple organizations that recognized Kim's IQ of 276. The WMSC is a real organization. It governs memory sport competitions. Guinness World Records does describe WMSC as a partner in memory sport administration. But here's the tension. Look at this page. Kim isn't just recognized by the World Mind Sports Council. He's listed on their team page as a council member. ZDFheute, the investigative arm of Germany's second-largest public broadcaster, flagged this as a direct conflict of interest. The body that certifies him also lists him as part of its leadership, and it gets tighter. Note 3. United Sigma Intelligence Association. The USIA is described as a non-profit international think tank founded by Kim. It publishes lengthy reports defending his IQ claim, attacking his critics, and maintaining a list of famous advisors and award recipients. It's a real UK registered entity. I checked. Company number 1461636, incorporated January 25, 2023, registered at 207 Regent Street, London. Company's house lists exactly one active director, Kim YoungHoon, South Korean nationality, date of birth listed as May 1989. But here's what Company House also tells us. First, and they literally print this on the page, they do not verify the accuracy of information filed. It's a registry, not a vetting body. Second, the USIA's filing history includes a Gazette notice for compulsory strike-off, dated December 30th, 2025, which was later suspended in February 2026. The accounts filed are listed as dormant, meaning no significant accounting transactions were reported. So, a dormant UK shell entity with one director, Kim himself, publishes reports verifying Kim's IQ, and those reports are then cited by official world record and promoted across his social media as independent validation. And it's not just internet skeptics saying this. Howard Gardner, the Harvard psychologist who created the theory of multiple intelligences, one of the most cited figures in modern educational psychology, was apparently informed he'd received an award from the USIA. He looked into it, and in August 2021, he wrote this on the blog. At this point, USIA is best described as a reputational Ponzi scheme. A reputational Ponzi scheme. That's a Harvard professor's description of an organization that is currently cited as an independent validator of the world's highest IQ. And then there's Note 4. But Note 4 deserves its own chapter, because this one involves an alleged identity theft, and two organizations fighting over the same name. In the world of ultra-exclusive high IQ societies, the Giga Society sits at the very top, 1 in a billion admission standard. Founded in 1996 by Paul Koyman, a Dutch test creator, and hosted at gigasociety.com. Now, you can debate the scientific rigor of high-range IQ testing all day, and many psychometricians do, but within that niche community, Koyman's Giga Society has quarter-century provenance. It exists. It has a documented history. And then, according to Koyman's own detailed dossier, published on his website entitled Proof of Theft of Intellectual Property in July 2021, someone launched a different organization using the same name. The new entity, which eventually came to be called Giga Society Professional, acquired the domain gigasociety.net. Koyman alleges that this entity not only used the Giga Society name without consent, but actively tried to create a false origin story, publishing narratives that predated its own founding to make it appear older and more established. His dossier provides specific Wayback Machine archive links as evidence. He alleges that the organization published at least 3 different founder and founding date attributions over time, and that archived versions of the website show these changes. Now, I want to be fair here. Koyman is not a neutral party. He's the founder of the original, and he's publicly hostile to Kim. He's described Kim as, and this is a direct quote, a megalomaniac, pathologically lying imposter. That's his characterization, not mine. Kim's aligned organizations published rebuttals attacking Koyman's credentials, pointing out that he lacks formal training in academic psychology and holds what they describe as only a bachelor's degree in guitar and composition. But here's what that rebuttal doesn't address: the Wayback Machine links, the alleged shifting origin stories, the fundamental question of why this new organization needed the Giga Society name in the first place. And it also doesn't address what Klaus Meinzer said. Professor Klaus Meinzer, Technical University of Munich. ZDFheute reports that his name appeared as an advisor on a USIA-affiliated page. When ZDFheute contacted him, he responded by email. And I want to show you exactly what he said. Translation: all fake. I don't participate in anything like that. So let me summarize where we are. The world's highest IQ is certified by a pay-to-play Spanish registry. recognized by a sports council where Kim sits on the team page, validated by a UK think tank that Kim founded, that a Harvard professor calls a reputational Ponzi scheme, and that lists advisors who say they were never involved, and the elite society in the ecosystem may be using a stolen name from an organization whose founder calls Kim an imposter. Every arrow, when you trace it, points back to the center. But if this were just about a number on a test, if it were just about someone inflating their IQ on the internet, it would be a curiosity, a footnote. What makes this story worth telling is what the number gets used for. In late December 2024, YoungHoon Kim's X account, which according to third-party mirrors had been created just weeks earlier in November 2024, began posting at a rapid pace. Vice would later report that a huge proportion of his early posts were about one person, Elon Musk. This makes strategic sense. Musk is the owner of X. Engagement with Musk's content might be algorithmically rewarded. Kim was building his audience by writing the biggest signal on the platform. But within days, the content pivoted, sharply, to German politics. ZDFheute provides the clearest account of what happened next. Kim began praising the alternative for Germany, the AfD, and amplifying Elon Musk's own statements that only AfD can save Germany. For a far-right party in the middle of a heated election season, a global viral account declaring itself the world's smartest man and endorsing your platform? That's a gift. And it was treated as one. Alice Weidel, the leader of the AfD, publicly shared a post celebrating Kim's endorsement. Multiple AfD-affiliated accounts amplified it. German media covered it. And then, within hours, Weidel deleted the post. The AfD's explanation, as reported by ZDFheute, was that they deleted it because of doubts about the authenticity of his account. Now, watch what Kim does next. 2 days later, on January 17, 2025, he posts this. He doesn't acknowledge being rejected. He frames it as his decision to withdraw. The party doubted his authenticity and removed their endorsement, but in his telling, he walked away. This is a technique, and it's important to name because you'll see it again. Reframing rejection as voluntary departure. It preserves the narrative of authority. The audience never learns that the AfD had doubts. They learn that Kim, magnanimously, chose to move on. The AfD episode wasn't an isolated event. It was the highest profile example of a broader pattern. Kim's feed is studded with political content, all of it calibrated to specific audiences. February 2025, he said, different cultures create division, reduce unity, and raise crime rates, making it harder to maintain law and order. This is immigration restrictionist rhetoric. October 2025, he predicts a Trump-associated crypto project will be top 10, calls himself an official ambassador, and uses the phrase, "Make America Great Again." Vice independently describes additional ideological posts, including anti-Marxist, anti-feminist, and anti-trans messaging. Now, I want to be careful here. People are allowed to have political opinions. There's nothing inherently illegitimate about supporting a party or holding conservative views. The question I'm raising isn't whether these views are right or wrong, it's whether they're sincere or strategic. And the evidence for strategic is the pattern. Musk content when Musk attention is valuable, AfD content during German election season, MAGA content when courting a US audience. Each political position correlates with a specific audience acquisition objective, and each of those audiences has something in common. They're primed to distrust the institutions and journalists who would debunk his IQ claim. This pattern reaches its logical conclusion in late October 2025 when Kim posts a 95-second produced video announcing that he's applying for political asylum in the United States. He frames it as fleeing a pro-North Korean leftist government that punishes patriots and glorifies communists. He claims South Korea suppresses biblical truth and silences Christian voices. Let me give you the context he leaves out. South Korea in late 2024 and 2025 was in genuine political turmoil. The former president declared martial law and was arrested for insurrection. Conservative political figures and intelligence chiefs who supported the martial law attempt were prosecuted. A prominent conservative pastor was indicted. But that pastor, Pastor Son Juan Bo, wasn't indicted for preaching the Bible. He was indicted for allegedly using church services to conduct coordinated, illegal election campaigning. That's a violation of South Korean's election law, not a persecution of Christianity. Over 30% of South Korea's population is Christian. There are more Presbyterian churches in South Korea than in the United States. Christianity is not suppressed in South Korea. But Kim conflates lawful prosecution of election interference with religious persecution because the story serves a purpose. A debunked high IQ guy selling crypto tokens is a cautionary tale. A persecuted Christian genius fleeing communism is a hero. Now, let's talk about the formula behind these posts. Here's the formula. Every major religious post follows the same two-step structure. Step 1, Remind the audience of the credential as the world's highest IQ record holder. Step 2, make a bold declaration of faith. I believe that Jesus Christ is God. Posts like these generated massive engagement, tens of thousands of interactions. And when you read the replies, you see exactly why. Christian accounts share it with captions like, "The smartest man alive believes in Jesus. Science confirms God. If the man with the highest IQ believes, what's your excuse?" The emotional logic is powerful. If intelligence validates belief, then the most intelligent person is the most powerful validator. The IQ claim isn't incidental to the religious messaging. It's the entire engine that makes it work. Remove the world's highest IQ prefix, and the post reads like any other testimony. Add it, and it becomes a viral phenomenon. And he does this constantly, across every platform. Let me show you the scale and consistency. Notice the evolution. Early posts are declarations, I believe. Middle posts are achievement claims, I've read the Bible 1,000 times, which are unverifiable but emotionally impressive to a faith audience. Then comes the confession narratives. The Freemasonry admission on Instagram is a classic redemption arc. I was in darkness, now I'm in light. That's a story structure as old as Christianity itself, the conversion testimony. St. Paul, St. Augustine, and now apparently the man with an IQ of 276. Then, and this is where things get strategic, comes the persecution layer. Death threats are serious. If YoungHoon Kim is genuinely receiving death threats, that is a matter for law enforcement, and it's wrong. I'm not dismissing that possibility. But I am pointing out the function of this post within the broader content strategy. Because once you post "I'm being persecuted for preaching Jesus," every future piece of criticism from psychometricians, journalists, Reddit threads, this video get recontextualized. It stops being evidence-based scrutiny and becomes prosecution, spiritual warfare. And for the audience that already believes in spiritual warfare, an audience that's been told the media lies, that the world hates Christians, that the establishment suppresses truth, this framing is almost impenetrable. And the man with the world's highest IQ is telling you this while being persecuted. You don't just follow him, you need to invest in him, emotionally and maybe even financially. And that brings us to the money question. In July 2025, Vice published a long-read investigation into Kim. Among other findings, Vice described a Patreon page branded as the highest IQ church. Donations were framed as being used to help neighbors, charitable language designed to position the giving not as a transaction, but this ministry. Now, I couldn't locate a public audit, a registered charity filing, or an independent accounting of how any funds from this Patreon were used. It doesn't prove misuse, but it proves a lack of transparency that would be unusual for any legitimate charitable operation, let alone one built on the personal brand of a single individual whose core credential has been called into question by multiple named credentialed experts. But the Patreon is small time compared to what came next. On March 21st, 2026, just 3 days from the time of recording, YoungHoon Kim published a post announcing the launch of a DeFi token and what he called an AI quant trading group. The framing of this post is something. The token is called Lamb 276. The name combines lamb with its obvious Christian symbolism, the Lamb of God, and 276 is claimed IQ. The mission statement reads, "To end poverty in the world," and the post frames the entire venture in the spirit of Jesus Christ. In the spirit of Jesus Christ, to end poverty in the world. Let me hold this up for a moment. We have a man whose IQ credential has been called fake by a listed advisor, a reputational Ponzi scheme by a Harvard professor, and an identity theft by the founder of the original society whose name he's allegedly using. That man is now launching a cryptocurrency token branded with Christian symbolism, promising to end global poverty and framing it as a spiritual mission. And the replies tell you that at least some people see it clearly. Rug pull detected. Show tokenomics first. Where's the pre-sale documentation? CCN, a crypto-focused news outlet, published an explainer on Lamb 276. I want to highlight 3 things from their reporting. 1, they note that key technical and trading details were, quote, limited or unverified at time of reporting. 2, they documented that copycat tokens using the Lamb name had already appeared, meaning regardless of Kim's intention, confusion in the market was already creating risk for the buyers. 3, the project itself reportedly issued scam warnings about these copycats, which is either responsible disclosure or a remarkably convenient way to blame any problems on imitators rather than the original. The very next day, March 23rd, Kim posts this. "Every profit will be used to advance his kingdom." That's a fundraising promise. Where's the registered charity? Where's the board of directors with independent oversight? Where's the financial disclosure? I looked, I couldn't find any of it. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but it does mean it's not public. And for a public figure making public fundraising adjacent promises to a public audience of hundreds of thousands, the absence of public accountability is itself the story. So let me show you the complete architecture. This is how attention becomes money. Layer 1, the credential. World's highest IQ, certified by entities Kim founded, leads, or sits on the team of. Layer 2, political virality. AFD endorsement, MAGA alignment, culture war takes, generates massive attention spikes and media coverage, attracts politically engaged audiences who are predisposed to distrust mainstream institutions. Layer 3, religious messaging. As the world's highest IQ record holder, I believe Jesus is God. This captures Christian audiences and builds trust that's emotional and generates viral sharing through faith networks. Layer 4, persecution framing. I'm being threatened for preaching Christ. This makes him immune to criticism. It converts skeptics into persecutors in the narrative. Layer 5, monetization. YouTube memberships, Patreon, church, and a crypto token launched in the spirit of Jesus Christ to end poverty. Each layer needs the layer above it. The token needs the religious trust. The religious trust needs the IQ credential. The IQ credential needs the self-referencing certification loop. And the persecution framing protects the entire structure from external scrutiny. It's elegant, comprehensive, and it may be, I want to use careful language here, it may be entirely engineered. I've been talking for a while now, and I realize that I spent most of that time pointing out what doesn't check out. So let me do something that I think is important. Let me tell you exactly what would settle this, in either direction. Because if I'm wrong, if YoungHoon Kim is genuinely the most intelligent person alive, genuinely trying to build churches and end poverty with crypto profits, and genuinely being persecuted for his faith, then there's a clear path to proving it. None of this is unreasonable. Any legitimate genius with nothing to hide would welcome the scrutiny. Any real charity would publish its books. Any credible certifying body would be delighted to demonstrate its independence. The absence of these things isn't proof of guilt, but it is proof that the proof is missing. And when someone is asking for your money, whether through memberships, donations, or token presale, the proof is missing should be the only sentence you need to hear. YoungHoon Kim is a fascinating case. But he's not a unique one. He's a template, a case study in how the modern internet rewards exactly this kind of architecture. The platform rewards engagement, not accuracy. A post that says, "The world's smartest man believes in Jesus," will travel farther and faster than a post that says, "Actually, his IQ was certified by his own organization." Outrage and inspiration both generate clicks. Nuance generates nothing. And once you've built an audience that sees your critics as persecutors, once you've wrapped your brand in faith and patriotism and prophetic urgency, you're operating inside a closed system. The criticism makes you stronger. The debunking becomes the proof that they're out to get you. I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully this was interesting.
I launched my Christian mission token to build churches across the world where only Jesus Christ is confessed as Lord. Every profit belongs to the kingdom of God. Join the mission now. Hi, I am the world's highest IQ record holder, YoungHoon Kim. Why evil exists? Here is my answer. Evil exists in the world, clearly. But this does not prove that God is not real. In fact, it shows why we need Him. We call certain things evil because we believe there is a true difference between right and wrong. And that difference only makes sense if there is a perfect standard of goodness, which is God.